Lovely to meet finally, Gitanjali. We've been following your work for such a long time. A huge fan of your, work in short films, and even the short documentary "Chai" that you did was so wonderful. You are here as a part of the work in progress lab, the co-production script lab, right? And both the actually, you had a pitch, right? So for True Love Story, which has been Bombay Rose. My bad, yeah. For Bombay Rose, and which the short film kind of premiered a couple of years back, or was it last year?
That was True Love Story.
That was True Love Story, right?
I'm here with Bombay Rose, so you are correct.
Right.
That was my bad.
Right. So, could you talk a bit about the project that you pitching here?
Bombay Rose?
Yeah.
It's a love story between a Muslim boy and a Hindu girl who both sell flowers on the opposite side of Juhu, a road with a lot of traffic. So it's basically the love story, but what I do touch upon are a lot of issues like migration, about young people, their vulnerability of leaving their homelands, coming to a place like Bombay, looking for opportunities. And I feel a lot of success stories have been told, but the non-successful stories have never been told. So it's this journey of love between these two people told through a rose. Like he gives her a rose, and that rose, where it comes from, is he steals it from a graveyard, as all the flowers that he's giving her are stolen. Then from that it goes into who's the person who leaves that rose for a loved person. So it's a rose taking you through many love stories, and the love story is taking you through many political, social issues of Bombay. I've set it in 2005. So the girl who's a migrant from Madhya Pradesh, she has an old grandfather and she has a little sister that she wants to provide for. So which the boy discovers, she works in a dance bar in the nights, and the dance bars are closing down. So it also questions things like, when these things for morality are closed down, what happens to the people who
sustain themselves?
When you have to then make a choice between this or prostitution. So it's about what the city takes so much from migrants, but refuses to give back anything to them, makes their life even more miserable, and yet the spirit must be such that migrants still come. So this for me is very interesting. I use their flights of fantasies. I mean, I don't like poverty and slum, display of poverty and slum, kind of thing at all. For me, the imagination is very rich, doesn't matter how poor it is. So, which you can do in animation. So their dream worlds come from the places that they lived in. So in a way it's talking about very real situations, but in a very poetic, aesthetic, rich visual form.
Right. You touched upon the visual form. I mean, we saw the teaser and it kind of stands out. The the richness of the visuals kind of just stands out. And also the sound, right? The background music that you used. I wouldn't want to kind of, call it Indian, because we don't really know, where that starts and where Western ends. But it is so unique and so refreshing and so different from what you usually see in animation, which I think is a carryover from what, Painted Rainbow and all your animation films. So could you talk about where that comes from, the visual style and the whole look, aesthetics of it?
See, it's a slightly longer story, but I studied art in JJ, and the thing is, we had a history of art book, which 80% of it was Western art, 20% was Indian art. In a sense, even when we are taught art, we are embarrassed about our own art forms. So the traditional art forms, folk art forms, which should have been, I passed out in 94, syllabus was very different, which should have been taught to us as artists, was never done. So we ended up thinking everything Western is great. So having come from that, I made my first short film, and there was the Mumbai International Film Festival, which is called BIF, Bombay International Film Festival, had a Polish animator doing a workshop. And I liked his work very much. So it was first time access to an animator who does artistic work. So I did the lab, and he looked at my film and he said, it's very beautiful, and you have your skill and everything is great, but it's about two women. It's orange. It's two
right,
women
it's orange.
talking.
Yeah.
But he said, to me, this could be set anywhere. And I find India so beautiful, and everything that you have as a history and all so amazing. how come I don't see that? Because what you like in my film is that Poland that you can see in the cinema, that attracts you. But you try to hide from your
Where is your India?
Where is the place you come from? Where
Right.
are you? So that set me thinking in a way that yes, we are embarrassed about it. And after that, I did a project with Ajit Rao, where I was, again, he mentored me. He's one person who believes so much in Indian folk art. So I did this lengthy study of Indian folk art, and then I realized, my God, there is such a treasury in this, there's such a richness. It was a self-study, and I got hooked onto it. And those are the art forms which I feel are disappearing now because of entrance of new media. So how do you still keep that alive using new media? So for me, those became the art styles that I should like to tell my stories in. Apart from them being very beautiful, those art styles are still. So for me, the challenge was, what if it moves? Like a miniature painting, when it moves, how does light fall on it? Those kind of things. So that became my passion, and once I got into it, I realized even a lifetime is not enough to do this. So what I did was understand the source that I come from, the authenticity of an art form, and I keep it in my film as far as possible. That makes it Indian. So I don't think my films are Indian. I think my films are authentically from a source that it comes from. Tomorrow, if I have to make a French film, I will use the same technique and it will look absolutely French. So it's not like because I am Indian, I am doing something Indian. This is how you learn a form of art. This is how you learn versatility and have to do it.
Right.
So, yeah, but of course I'm more fond of, I would think if I have worked on a French film, and at the end of it I was like, bahut ho gaya. I want to get back to my Indian film. It's like Indian food.
Right.
It's finally the best.
So you are here with Bombay Rose, and I was talking to Soumitra yesterday. He is also here with an animation project. We have so much talent that a lot of the work in the West is kind of outsourced here, but we aren't able to kind of come out with something more than typically Chota Bheem and Mighty Raju on TV. Could you talk about what kind of stops that and what needs to happen for animation to flourish in India? And
see, if you compare it to any other country, their history of animation goes back a very long time. And what Soumitra and Shilpa are doing, or what I am doing, we are very close to this attempt that we have a very young history. History actually started with this one films division having a animation department.
Right.
And nobody knew how to do animation, so they called Claire Weeks from Walt Disney to teach. See, the same thing, the first teacher for animation that came taught it in the Disney way, and it continued. So it's not like you have to look at the history of a problem. This is where it came. So it continued. It was a small industry. It was looked at very like stepson, stepdaughter kind of a thing. So it didn't get much attention. Then suddenly a film like Hanuman is made. And they got the mathematics of it all wrong, saying that you spend 4 crores and you get 7 crores. No, the cost of that film is very high. It's just that the animators were never paid. So suddenly people are just looking at the mathematics, because 4 plus 3, 80 films are signed, without taking a comprehensive understanding of what really went into making that film did. So they said, okay, mythology works, entertainment works, Disney style works. Let's do this for the rest of the time. So I would not blame it on animators or anything. I would blame it on this kind of, capsuling things and saying this succeeds, so let's do it. Then some very bad films came, because if you see these 3 things are there, film is a success. No, concept, story, style, all these other things which you look at when you're doing a live action film. Why do you forget that in an animation film all this is needed? And if you look at other countries, you say, oh, it should be like, Japan, if not India. Look at Japan. They created their audience from the 1930s with graphic novels. Now those graphic novels, when they move, the audience already knows these characters, and they want to see it. So you cannot overnight say there is no audience for animation films. They have created it. We are late, fine, let us start now, create it. And 10 saal ke baad, people will not have the same question anymore. And then someone like Soumitra, me and all feel, if we don't do it, we can't wait for anyone else to do it.
Right.
And if we don't do it, it's, in a sense, we're the last people who still do 2D and aesthetic drawing. The younger generation doesn't want to do it at all. So it's going to go that way very fast. So it's a chicken and egg situation. If they have faith in us and they let us make, say, 5 good animation films, like I know Shilpa's film already, the one she made is one of the best films, but nobody has seen it. If people saw that film, they would not be asking this question.
Right.
So, talent hai, but it's not reached out to the people. That talent is not been given. They don't trust the talent. 2-3 films ho jayega, it become easy.
And how has the response to your pitch been here? I know you can't give out the specifics of what
I would love to, in the sense. You should not look for specifics, is what I have learnt in life over the years. But it's been very, very fruitful in the sense, like, we all are introverts, we all are artists, we all do our work very well. We just don't go out and tell people we are doing this, that, and people kind of know your work and they want to know what's happening. That gap, believe me, for both Soumitra and me, has been a long gap. We go and meet people and then they forget about it, we don't pursue it. Half the time the fault is ours, half the time we are meeting the wrong people. And then you get tired and you leave it. And both of us, in a way, he's been in a co-production lab before because he does live action films. We never thought animation Film Bazaar mein animation would have a space. But now suddenly we feel, my God, this is for us as much as for any other.
Like you were saying, you should have been here. Like you felt you should have been here some time back.
I've done animation markets, and I don't really fit in over there also because I'm not doing children's entertainment markets. So it's been draining. Then here I realized here are people who are doing cinema, and what I thought was very good about this market, they did that open pitch, which means only people who want to do my kind of animation will approach me. Nobody's wasting nobody's time. So I think all the meetings that I had, in a sense, have been, each and every one, have been people who know why they're doing these meetings with us. Whether it will work for them or not, that we'll find out later on. So for me, the bazaar is not judged upon who signed whose deal, but whether you met the right kind of people that you wanted to, whether something happens to it or not. Right, a bazaar is a space where
connections happen.
I met just about everybody that I wanted to, like I said, for 2.5 years in 3 days. So for me, it's been a great, very, very fruitful experience.
Wow. So maybe again too early to ask, but how soon can we expect to hear good news, or in terms of work starting?
I don't know that. I don't even want to say something because, see, I've chased films for 2 to 3 years. For me, another 6 months is not a problem. It can happen in December, it can happen in the next May. But why? It's like, no, कर्म करते रहो, फल की चिंता न करो. मैंने कर्म कर दिया. जब होगा तब everybody will know क्या हो रहा है.
Lovely.
That's it.
There are some really good short films that we've seen in the last few years. I think a lot of animators are now kind of from NID, from IIT Design School, kind of coming out, even from outside, kind of going out and doing very unique, distinctive films,
Originals.
right? So the two that I remember, obviously, one is Abhishek's Chashni, and the other is Ranjita's Kili.
Yes.
Right. And I wouldn't know too much because I don't
This
see
was
as
last
many.
year, but every year I love being part of the jury because then I get to see all the very beautiful films have been happening. And this is where the schools have started teaching differently now.
Right.
Schools have also encouraged the students to go towards thought process of filmmaking, not just the skill.
Right.
So it's a slow process. It's that your animators go out, since your designers go out 70s, 80s, then you figure out this gap. Then NIT has changed the way it teaches animation. Suddenly there was so much Indianness coming. It was the same thing in the 90s, like in JJ and everywhere. Western design was the thing. The whole world, started looking at India differently in the few years. We also started introspecting. So that changes happened. And it is showing now. So it's a very slow process, and you can see in the last 4-5 years that change is already showing rewards.
Right.
Shorts mein ho gaya because there is less money. Features mein hoga, it will take a little while. That's all.
Right.
But that same richness, all these people, if things become easier and something like Film Bazaar happens, you will see they are so capable of making feature films. The artists that you mentioned.
We hope that it happens very soon.
That's where me and Soumitra says we have to, in a sense, if we don't do it, who's going to do it? But once we start, it's going to become easier. Talent is huge. But for people to take animation seriously, as serious subjects, not just for children, at least 4 or 5 good animation films have to come.
we hope it happens earlier than that.
Yeah.
Best of luck. We hope that you get to start working on your film very soon. You don't have to wait even 6 months, and look forward
And
to.
so much goodwill, you know, how encouraging it is. I mean, whether it starts or not, like you say, no.
Right.
Each time somebody says that, I feel it's that, you know, positive energy which
You
collect.
need that when you're going back
Yeah,
to
you're
Bombay.
sitting
Actually,
alone and working for 6 months. Then you remember, Film Bazaar. Okay, get back to work. Yeah, it's good for the to encourage you each time you take a film where you feel like you want to give up.
right. Thanks so much for talking.
Thank you.